Danny Bonsignor, and I am so thankful you are here today. I pray that I can help encourage you to feel, to love, to heal, and to help encourage you to view all of your experiences, your conversations, and interactions all through a lens of love. Hello, and welcome to episode 22 of the Healing Mama podcast. This is so exciting, 22 episodes of the Healing Mama podcast. If you look at podcast statistics, making it past 21 episodes is like the key. So many podcasters don't even make it to after one episode, let alone 21 episodes. And yes, it's a saturated market. You feel like everyone has a podcast, but not everyone sticks with their podcast. So, the Healing Mama podcast is on episode 22, baby, and we are just getting started. I am so happy you are here today, and I am so excited for today's episode. I feel like I say that every time, but this kind of discussion matters, and it lights my soul on fire in the best of ways, and I hope today lights a fire in you, or at least an ember. Sometimes baby steps, those matter too. So many adults know how to punish a child, but how many can say they know how to effectively encourage a child? So many adults believe that punishment is what motivates a child to change their behavior, and it makes me wonder how many have asked themselves what motivates them. Is it shame and punishment, or is it encouragement? It is understandable that encouraging your child is hard in the moment, especially when you are accustomed to reacting to the misbehavior in familiar and sometimes negative ways. When you don't understand what encouragement looks like, it's understandable that you don't know how to deal with or address the message behind the misbehavior. And when you don't understand this message, then you won't know how to motivate your child to do better. And in these moments of frustration and hopelessness, you choose punishment because punishment usually works in the moment. It also works at leaving both you and your child with a sense of discouragement, and discouragement subsequently keeps you on this path of familiarity, and the misbehavior and the punishment and the discouragement, it can become this ride you feel stuck on. I do want to say that this can be normal. It makes sense because when you and your child are both in a state where neither of you is thinking rationally, and neither of you is listening, which, by the way, this is usually the time where you might try to teach or prove a point. Whether it's done kindly or not, society wants you to do something, right? They want you to do something about the behavior, or else you are just letting your child get away with it. Unless you are actively aware of it, the way you respond in these moments is usually the way you were responded to as a child. The best way to help your child, and oftentimes yourself, is through encouragement. We know that a misbehaving child is a discouraged child, and if the opposite of discouragement is encouragement, then it makes sense that when you remove the discouragement, the motivation for the misbehavior will also be removed. This is where it can get tricky because a lot of adults confuse encouragement with praise. They think that with encouragement there is no discipline. Encouragement looks different from situation to situation. Sometimes it can be as simple as offering your child a hug. How would you feel if, when you are upset, your spouse offered you a hug? They saw the upset and they decided to ask you if you needed some comfort. How would you feel if they offered you a lecture? If they saw that you were down and they decided to just kind of push you down farther? How would you feel if they decided to hit you? Sometimes it is more complex and involves providing opportunities for your child to learn life skills that help them develop the perception, I am capable. I can contribute, or even more powerful, I can influence what happens to me or how I respond, which helps your child avoid developing a victim mentality of hopelessness. I want to talk about the difference between encouragement and praise. But before we get into this, there are 3 important reasons why, as an adult, encouraging your child might not seem so simple. First, when you are in the moment, you might not be able to view your child's misbehavior as a cry for belonging, but it is. Second, if you are like most adults, you have more tools for punishment than you do for encouragement. And third, your child is not always ready for encouragement at the time of their misbehavior, just like they are not ready for teaching. A good tool to try during this time is positive timeout, whether it is for you or your child, and you can learn more about this in episode 20, Timeout Do's and Don'ts. So let's talk about encouragement versus praise. Praise is more common amongst Western culture than it is other parts of the world, which has me thinking, what do they know that we don't? It is common for a child to draw a picture and you hear a parent respond with, "Wow, you're such a good artist." The parent means no harm by this, but this is teaching the child to value the praise of their parents and not on the work they did themselves. This is also related to behavior. The "you were such a good girl" because they didn't misbehave may influence this child to become a people pleaser or an approval junkie. This may encourage the child to develop self-perceptions that are determined by other people. While praise may appear to work, it is not without long-term effects, which includes dependence on others. I don't necessarily think many parents are aware of this when they are giving their child praise along with countless others. You might think that praise is what builds your child's self-esteem. The truth about self-esteem is that it can neither be given nor received. Your child's self-esteem is developed by how capable they may or may not feel, and the natural development of self-confidence that can only come from knowing that they are strong enough to handle disappointments, and that they are able to solve problems, both of which come from being in an environment in which they are able to learn from mistakes and are given ample opportunities to do so without being shamed or punished. The long-term effect of encouragement is short and simple in that it invites self-confidence. However, the not-so-short and simple part of encouragement is that it requires you, the adult, to be able to acquire an attitude of respect, a sincere interest in your child's point of view, even if you don't agree, and the desire to provide your child with opportunities that help them to develop life skills, that help them to remain self-confident despite the negative opinions of others. Encouragement is quite literally love in action. How amazing for your child to not just be told of your love for them, but to feel and see your love for them. With every parenting choice, action, and the very atmosphere of your home, you have the opportunity for this to be true. Proverbs 16:24 says, "Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body." 1 Thessalonians 5:9 says, "God did not appoint us to suffer wrath, but to receive salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ." God doesn't just see our sins and mistakes, but He sees the good in us. He wants you to be encouraged, not discouraged, and He wants you to be encouraging to others. The Apostle Paul instructs us in 1 Thessalonians 5:11 to encourage one another and build each other up. If we are to be more like Jesus, then why are we not aiming to be more encouraging? When did encouragement in parenting, when your child is misbehaving, start to be seen as letting your child get away with something? And I understand how some can view this because it all comes down to not understanding encouragement. Many of us were taught that we needed tough love, that in order to grow in wisdom and grace, we must first be told what we are doing wrong, that failure comes with criticism, and we are to be punished for our mistakes or else we will not learn. Punishment does not teach your child to not misbehave. Misbehavior becomes less when discouragement is replaced with encouragement. No one person is perfect, but it is possible to find joy in cooperation where encouragement is involved. It can be a hard concept for some, the idea that as a parent, you do not hold all of the power. Our children are their own person, and with that they have their own personal power. It is not your job to take this power away from them, but to help them redirect it and learn how to use it in more positive ways. You have to be aware of the habit that you have developed and how you respond to your child when they misbehave. This is not something that changes in one moment. It will take time, it will take patience, mistakes, and practice to discover and learn to accept the belief that is fueling the misbehavior. The reason that punishment is not an effective long-term solution is that it doesn't address the belief. It only addresses the misbehavior, and your child remains discouraged. Think about it. When you are feeling a certain way with your spouse, but your spouse doesn't know how you are feeling, you will continue to build on this until eventually it comes out in a usually negative manner, or in simpler terms, a meltdown. The same is with children, but the difference is they don't yet know that they have this certain belief or feeling, and they need you to discover this for them. Every time you punish them, you are missing what they are unable to communicate. And even though they don't yet know how to decipher what they are feeling, they are learning that it is wrong to feel this way, that these feelings cause their parents or other adults to punish them, so they may grow to learn to shove these feelings down and not talk about them. Does this sound like any adults you know? So yes, punishment does work in the short term, but not without long-term consequences that your children are more likely to deal with in their future relationships. You often hear, "I turned out fine." But how often are you as an adult talking about these feelings with your spouse, or even with your parents? We all just want to feel seen, our children included. Imagine how good it would feel if in the middle of an argument with your spouse they stopped and said sincerely, "I understand your point." I imagine I would immediately feel a sense of acceptance, and this would feel encouraging. Our children are the exact same way. So how do you do this? How do you learn to replace discouragement with encouragement? I want to share with you 4 steps for winning cooperation. Just like we talked about how most parents have more tools for punishment than they do for encouragement, this is a tool for encouragement. I'm going to use an example from the Positive Discipline book where you are needing your child to clean their room and they are refusing. I will note that you should be in a good state of mind, and if you are not, some positive time out beforehand might be a good idea. The first step is expressing understanding for how you think your child is feeling, and then making sure whether or not you are right. You could say something like, "Could it be that you would like to pick up your toys later on rather than right now?" The second step is to show that you understand where your child is coming from, even if you don't agree with it. Sometimes sharing an experience where you felt or behaved in a similar manner can help your child feel seen. I understand that. My mom used to tell me to clean my room immediately, and all I wanted to do was keep playing. The third step is to share your own feelings and perceptions, and it is really important to note that this conversation should be done with sincerity and friendliness so that your child is more willing to listen. I really appreciate it when everyone in the family cleans up after themselves. I like the house to look nice, and I think you do too. The fourth and final step is to ask your child if they would be willing to work on a solution together. Can you think of any ways we could solve this problem? Being able to play with our toys, but putting them away when we are finished. It can come as a surprise how much more willing children are when they feel they have a say in what happens and that you actually care about what they are feeling instead of just demanding they do what you say when you say it. Just as we appreciate our spouses showing us understanding, our children do too. The best way to teach your child respect is by showing them what it looks like in the way you treat yourself and others every single day. Not just when you are happy, but also when you are upset, especially when you are upset. There is such an amazing story I want to share from the Positive Discipline book about an African tribe that uses a unique approach with discipline. Whenever someone in their tribe misbehaves, they have them stand in the center and the tribe will create a circle around this person, and each person will take turns stating good things about this person. They do not lie, exaggerate, or make things up. They only share the truthful and honest things they can about the person in the center. This is how they encourage the members of their tribe to behave differently, by reminding them of all of the good things about themselves. Because we know that a misbehaving child or person is a discouraged person, it actually gave me chills to imagine how encouraging this would feel, to be surrounded by your people, your tribe, just choosing to lift you up and remind you of everything good you have done, especially when you need it the most. In Western culture, it almost feels like we do the opposite. Using harsh punishments when someone is already feeling down, it's actually pretty sad when you think about it. Encouragement strengthens and enhances our relationships, where punishment diminishes our relationships. Imagine how good it would feel to your child if you reminded them of all of the good things about themselves when they do something wrong instead of criticizing them. Every podcast episode that I will be doing moving ahead, and the last few in the past, are meant to give you tools to handle struggles in parenting that provide your child encouragement. It is supposed to help your children do better, so that we can stop passing on tools of discouragement that have been used to stop children from misbehaving, which we learn doesn't actually have anything good that comes from it. Jeremiah 10:24 says, "Correct me, Lord, but only with justice, not in your anger, lest you reduce me to nothing." True discipline helps to engage the heart instead of breaking the beautiful spirit children are born with. It is both justice and compassion at work. If we want to love our children like God loves us, then we must learn to extend grace to them when they sin, just as He extended His grace to us when we sin. And we'll continue to sin because none of us are perfect people. It's an important question to ask yourself. Do you want to raise your children with the letter of the law, with punishment and shame, or with grace? Grace that offers them belonging, encouragement, and guidance in making good choices in life, not out of fear, but because they know it is the right thing to do. We could all use more encouragement in our life, to become more encouraging to ourselves, our spouses, our children, and those in our community. I don't know about you, but when I think about how this would have felt as a child to be encouraged instead of punished, how good this would have felt, and in my own personal experience, not only does it feel good to discipline my daughter this way, but you can tell it feels good to her too. It encourages her to want to cooperate. Think about the ways you felt as a child with how your parents disciplined you. Think about the struggles that you have in your adult relationships. At the very least, give it a thought. It is my greatest goal to not just go to church on Sundays, but to show my children the grace, love, patience, and guidance that God shows me day in and day out. I hope you keep tuning in, and if this episode or any episode before it has been helpful for you, please do me a favor and share the Healing Mama podcast with at least one person this week. I think it is so important that parents have access to tools that are free, because our children deserve it. You as a parent deserve it. Parenting is a journey that can be enjoyed, and nobody feels good punishing their child. Nobody. So there has to be another way. There is another way, and I want to help share this way with you. So keep tuning in for more free tools. Positive discipline is all about how to effectively encourage your children and to give you tools as the parent to do so. I am so glad that you tuned in today. I hope that you can go about your day from here on out just with these words in your head and a little pep in your step to just encourage your children today. Not praise them, but encourage them. In closing today, for the next couple of weeks, pray over this. Ask God to help guide you to be more patient, more understanding, and to open your heart to new ideas. Ask that He reveal to you the parts of your heart that need healing, and ask God to help you be the encouraging, gentle, kind, but firm leader that He knows you can be. Until next time.